check this out. Very interesting. Weinstein was sentenced to over 20 years. The highest court in New York just overturned his conviction. And what's really interesting is what they said when they did it, which is basically, if you read the opinion, they're telling the lower court, the judge who had that first trial for Weinstein and the prosecutor, you guys got this really wrong. You messed up basic rules of evidence. You used something called propensity evidence, showing and arguing that he committed other alleged crimes, and you put on women who were not the victims in this case, but women from other alleged crimes, and had them come testify. You can't do that. They overturned his conviction. Look, this is amazing news because the promise of America, some of its promises, are still alive and well. Can you still have the promise of free speech? Well, no. If you're a student at an Ivy League university, shut your fucking mouth if you say stuff that the board of trustees does not agree with, because you're not allowed to do that in America. But if you're a rich person counting on the American legal justice system to give you chance after chance to let your $1 million and $1 billion lawyers come up with clever, creative legal arguments to get your conviction overturned, that promise is still alive and well. Donald Trump, Jeffrey Williams, y'all got big lawyers with big money. The prosecution has a long case to make, a long fight. They can make a lot of mistakes. And in the end, there is hope in America's promise that the rich people will be.
Breaking news out of New York right now, where the state's Court of Appeals decided to overturn the rape conviction of disgraced Hollywood movie producer Harvey Weinstein.
That's right. A jury convicted him of criminal sexual assault in the first degree and rape in the third degree. Now, you may remember this landmark case as one that sparked the hashtag #MeToo movement back in 2017. Weinstein is currently in his fourth year of a 23-year prison sentence. NBC News correspondent Chloe Melas is here to break all of this down. Chloe, this is interesting because the court voted 4-3 to overturn this conviction. Why? What do they say?
I just want to read you what the court has said in their ruling. They write in part that the court compounded that, wait, let me start here. We conclude that the trial court erroneously admitted testimony of uncharged alleged prior sexual act against persons other than the complainants of the underlying crimes because of that testimony served no material non-propensity purpose. Listen, I sat inside that courtroom every single day during his New York criminal trial. And what they had were Mullineaux witnesses. They had individuals come forward, which is not uncommon in trials, and speak about allegations that are not directly connected to the crimes that the defendant is charged with, but it's in an effort for the prosecutors to show an alleged pattern of behavior. So what we saw during Harvey Weinstein's trial in 2020, in 2019, 2020, was that there were women who came forward with allegations, but they were not part of the crimes that he was being charged with in New York. And so now you have the court overturning this conviction, saying that, what you're going to have to do is start over with an entirely new trial. And that is what we're hearing today from attorneys that represented those women, from attorneys that represented the Mullineaux witnesses, saying that this is a step back for the Me Too movement, that now individuals and victims and alleged victims are re-traumatized today, and that they will see it through, that he stands trial once again. But again, he also has to go to California.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. They're the ones that originally brought this case. What are they saying about this decision to overturn the conviction? And then Weinstein, he is in prison.
Yeah.
So he's serving a 23-year sentence here in New York. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office, they've slammed this decision, and they said that they will retry him. But again, like you just said, he was convicted in the state of California, and he has to now go serve that concurrent sentence of about 20 years. But could this mean that potentially that could be overturned? That's a long road ahead, and that's what his spokesperson told me today. There is a press conference in just a few hours. Okay. I will be there, and we'll be hearing from Harvey Weinstein's attorneys and what they plan to do next.
All right, we'll be watching. NBC News correspondent Chloe Melas. Chloe, thank you so much.
Thanks, Chloe.
Very shocking news. I did not see this coming. Harvey Weinstein, known as one of the most sick, evil, demented criminal individuals out there ever, was sentenced, put behind bars for many years to come. There was a 23-year sentence on that case that just got overturned. But if you didn't catch it, there's also that case in LA that he sentenced to 16 years on. Those sentences were running wild, consecutive, not concurrent. So altogether, that was 39 years he was looking at. Now it's dropped down to 16. Now you see Weinstein's legal team is saying they feel confident about this other case. I mean, fingers crossed that he's wrong and that this case, this conviction is upheld. I mean, what do you guys think about that whole legal precedence that because individuals were brought on the stand and testified about allegations, things that he wasn't convicted of, just claims that women were saying he did this to me, he did that to me. The prosecutors were saying, hey, we did this to show a pattern, show his true character as someone who repeatedly abused women, lured women into traps, put faulty jobs out there and preyed upon them flat out, that he was a predator. The court was saying in their ruling, which was 4-3, okay, 4-3. It's not like this was a unanimous thing. This just squeezed by in Weinstein's favor. But essentially, that was their argument, that because all these allegations, not convictions, allegations were put out there and used as evidence, that he could not get a fair trial. Now, I don't know when this whole appeal for the LA case is going to happen. I'm not sure of the time frame on that. But again, I got my fingers crossed that conviction will be upheld. This is a sick individual who is a danger to society, a danger to women. And, first things first, again, this LA conviction, please hold up. We'll have to wait and see. But what does everyone think about New York? Will they take him back and have this new trial? It's got to be tough for all those witnesses and women that testified. You know what I mean? You guys remember the whole Me Too movement? It was in full swing. In this case, very much is like right at the center of the Me Too movement. It meant a lot. It showed a lot of these women who for years felt like there was nothing they could do. Like no one would hear their cries, like he's rich and powerful and he'll continue to get away with this. And that wasn't the case. They put him behind bars. He was arrested. He was held responsible and accountable for his sick, disturbing actions. I can only imagine the way a lot of these women feel. And, will they want to get back up there and testify once again? We'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. But in closing, I'm going to share a video with you guys. This is an older video back at the time of the guilty verdict. This is one of Weinstein's victims who spoke out. And you're going to see how much this all meant to her. You can see how traumatized she was and, still is, and just how much this all meant to her. Weinstein lured her in with a promise of an audition and assaulted her. And I mean, you're going to hear this, the emotion, how this all affected this woman, and then think about how many other victims there are out there. You know what I mean? Weinstein, this was common knowledge about this guy for years in the entertainment world, in the industry. People knew about this and he continued to get away with it. It's so sick. It's so twisted. But everyone, comment. Let me know your thoughts across the board. Let me know if you think that this will help his defense in any way in the LA appeal. I hope not. This is a sick guy. He needs to remain behind bars. But I'm going to roll this clip. Again, this is one of his victims who spoke out back when this guilty verdict came in. This was like 4 years ago. He has a little over 4 years in on this sentence. So I'm going to end this with this clip. Again, subscribe, hit the buttons for me, but more importantly, join the discussion in the comments and stay tuned for updates.
Charlie, can you describe for me the emotions that you have? Initially, it was sort of just a quiet numbing. It took me a second. When I got Doug's text, I sort of pushed the phone away because I was a little afraid. Not that I'd expected anything but guilty, but the emotion would be overwhelming. And then when I did read it, I just sort of went silent inside, and I kept trying to figure out what I was feeling. And happy kept coming up, but that's not exactly the word I was really feeling. And then it was gratitude, like gratitude for what had been done.
You were a part of this trial, though. It wasn't just the others. You actually stepped up and wanted to be a part of it. Why?
When the story broke, I avoided it at first because I didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to open anything for myself. And when I finally allowed myself to read it, the first thing I said was, I have to help her. And that's what drove me through the whole 2 years, was wanting to help someone. I never for once thought he would be held accountable. And that's a big part of why I never spoke up, because he is him and I was me. But that's changed now.
Did you have a moment of thinking that was worth it?
Absolutely. Yes. That was exactly how I felt. That was worth it. I would do it again.
Were you disappointed that he wasn't found guilty on the more serious charges?
I wasn't going to let disappointment come in, so no, I didn't feel disappointed because he's being held accountable. Would we all have liked that? Yes, but he's being held accountable.
And what message do you think this verdict sends today?
That it's okay, you have permission, and you should speak up for yourself and point to the person to be held accountable for what they're doing to you or to someone else. That be strong, find your inner strength.
Do you think that this will change the landscape for criminal sexual assault cases around the country?
I do, because in the short period that the Manhattan DA's office that I've been involved with has been handling these cases, this wasn't the sort of case they would have brought 10 years ago for sure. I mean, I was representing the maid in the Dominique Strauss-Kahn case, which had a lot of physical evidence and instant corroboration and things like that. But post Me Too, people are now understanding the dynamics of the rape myths and how people really are sexually assaulted and how they're raped. And I think that other district attorney's office will look at this prosecution and say, yes, this woman may have waited 10 years to come forward. She may not have told anyone. She may have even remained in contact with the person who actually committed the crime. But nonetheless, we believe her, and we therefore think it's important to bring this case.
I think it's coming to light for me now in the past 2 years what the last decade and a half has been. It's all coming, it's all bubbling up to the surface for me now. And some people have asked, do I feel like I have closure? And I don't necessarily know if that's the best word for me. I feel like I have a new definition as to where and who I am going forward. I get to change things now.
Do you have renewed faith in the system?
I do. Yes, I do, actually. And even more so, I have renewed faith in people finding their own strength. I think it's safer to stay in the shadow, but you don't realize how much the fear gets to you. But I have a lot of faith in people.